doing well. It's me again, Ma'am Lorena, your TLE ICT teacher. Join me as we discover and experience the fun in learning Computer System Servicing 9. Are you ready? Then what are you waiting for? Make sure that you have with you your module, your pen and a paper, and let's discuss the topic, Components of a System Unit. First, let's define our goal for today. In this lesson, you will recognize the different components of a system unit. At the same time, you will explain the uses and functions of each component of a system unit. And lastly, you need to observe safety procedures in installing and configuring computer system. But before we proceed for today's lesson, let's have a short pickup of our last topic, which is all about OHS and safety practices. Let's have true or false. Tell me whether the statement is correct or wrong. On your notebook or answer sheet, write true if the statement is correct and false if not. True or false? Use only tools that are in good condition. Yes, it's correct. It is true. Use only tools that are in good condition. Next, assume that an electrical device is safe to handle. Is it true or false? That is false. Do not assume that an electrical device is safe to handle. Next, wear conductive apparel. Is it true or false? It is false. Do not wear conductive apparel. Next, keep the work area always clean and orderly. Is it true or false? If your answer is true, that's correct. Always keep that in mind to clean your work area. And last, never work alone. Is it true or false? That's true. Never work alone. Be sure you have somebody to keep an eye ready for any potential problem. Now it seems that you really understand our past topic. Now let's move on with our topic today. But first, let's watch this video clip.
Philippine laptop companies reported a spike in global sales during the lockdown period. However, a decline in global electronics manufacturing capacity has also caused a shortage of supply here in the country. Lenovo Philippines recorded at least a 26% spike in its global laptop sales. It's based on shipment quantities. Asus Philippines attributed the rise in demand to the shift towards remote work setup. This is on top of parents buying devices for their students as they prepare for online learning, and that's why they expect the strong demand to remain until the end of the year. However, Lenovo flagged that local sales could have increased by more than double if the pandemic did not affect their supply side. This meant that 30 to 40% of local demand remains underserved. The company identified several bottlenecks in the supply chain, that's including shortages among CPU and component providers, skeleton workforce, and the importation restrictions.
Now, what was the news clip all about? So according to the video you watched, it shows the sudden increase in demand of laptops or computers during a pandemic. Are you one of the people who decided to buy a computer or laptop during a pandemic? There's nothing wrong with that, but make sure you know what you are buying or looking for so that you will never be like this. Now what can you say about it? According to the person who posts this on Facebook, he is looking for a CPU with a budget of 10,000 for gaming. And I think what he meant on his post is a system unit, not the CPU. It is a common computer misconception that some people still calls this as a CPU. Now, remember class, this is what we call as the system unit. A system unit is also known as a tower or chassis. It is one of the computer's main hardware components. And as you can see, it is normally a rectangular container that houses other computer components. Now, let's get deeper with each components of a system unit. First one, we have the motherboard. What are other names for motherboard? So sometimes it is also called as main board or the logic board. Now what does the motherboard do? It is the main circuit board of the computer. It is a thin plate that houses the computer's processor, memory, hard drive, optical drives, video and audio expansion cards, and connections to your computer ports. Next component, we have the CPU. Now what does CPU stands for? CPU stands for Central Processing Unit, which is also known as processor, and it can be found on the motherboard. It is often referred to as the computer brain, and its main role is to execute the commands. Next, we have the RAM, or Random Access Memory. It is the primary memory of a computer system, and its main purpose is to temporarily store data. It enables the CPU to quickly access data due to the fact that data is accessed in random, meaning no specific order. Next, we have the hard disk drive, or simply hard drive. If the RAM temporarily stores data, this hard drive, it stores all your applications, your documents, and other files are stored on it. Even though you turn off the device or unplug it, the data is safe because hard drive is a long-term data storage. Next component is the power supply unit, or PSU. It transforms power from an outlet to the power needed by a computer. So basically, it supplies the power to the motherboard and other computer components. Next, we have the expansion slot or cards. So most motherboards have expansion slots for different types of expansion card. Another name for this type of card is the PCI, Peripheral Component Interconnect. But most motherboards have come with built-in video or sound cards or network cards so that you can never need to add any PCI. Next is the compact disc read-only memory, or CD-ROM. Remember, a removable disc is included in this high-capacity optical data storage unit. It stores data from a storage medium and reads data from it. Next component, we have the computer fan, or also known as system fan. It is another part within a computer system, wherein it circulates cool air within the heatsinks of the different devices, including the processors and chipsets. And last component, we have the computer data cables. Why is it important? It's because the data cable connects the hard drive to the motherboard and vice versa. SATA and IDE are the two most common types of data cables. Now, what is the difference between SATA and IDE? Now that's the difference between the SATA and IDE data cables. Again, the components of a system unit are motherboard, CPU, RAM, hard disk drive, power supply unit, CD-ROM drive, computer fan, and computer data cables. Remember, it is essential to examine and understand every computer component and identify its function in order to apply the correct troubleshooting steps if there are errors encountered. Also, keep in mind that safety should be your number one priority. So here's some precautionary measures to take before working to any computer component. Wear shoes with non-conductive rubber soles to help reduce the chance of being shocked or seriously injured in an electrical accident. Next, do not work on the components that are plugged in a power source. Next, do not remove expansion cords from a computer when it is turned on. Next, remove any jewelries when working inside a computer-related equipment. And lastly, be sure to not mix any electronic components and water. Now, following those safety procedures will protect us from injuries such as electrical hazards, heat, chemicals, and infection. Not only at computer workplace, but also at your home. Now for our activity, let us label some of the components of a system unit. I hope you enjoyed labeling the parts of a system unit. Now here are some questions to ponder as you reflect for today's lesson. You may answer these on your notebook or on your journal. Number 1, what is the importance of being familiar with the use and function of the system unit? And number 2, why do we need to keep in mind the proper safety guidelines when working with computers? And by this time, you are all familiar with the components of the system unit and also with the safety practices. Now let's have a short quiz. You may answer this on your notebook or answer sheets.
Assessment. Identify the component being described. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Number 1. It is a thin plate that houses the processor, memory, hard drive, and optical drive connectors, video and audio expansion cards, and connections to your computer ports, such as USB ports. A. CPU, B. hard disk drive, C. motherboard, D. power supply unit. Number 2, a removable disk is included in this high-capacity optical data storage unit. Letter A, CD-ROM, B, computer fan, C, expansion cards, D, RAM. Number 3, it is often referred to as the computer's brain, and its role is to execute commands. A, CPU, B, hard disk drive, C, motherboard, D, power supply unit. Number 4, it is normally a rectangular container that houses other important hardware components. A, CD-ROM, B, computer fan, C, motherboard, and D, system unit. And number 5, it supplies power to the motherboard and other components through cables. A, CPU, B, hard disk drive, C, motherboard, and D, power supply unit.
Are you done answering, class? Okay, let's check. Number 1, the answer is letter C, motherboard. Number 2 is letter A, CD-ROM. And number 3, we have letter A, CPU. Number 4, letter D, system unit. And number 5, we have letter D again, power supply unit. Did you get all the correct answer? If yes, that's good to know. But if not, you may review your module and watch this video again for your assignment or additional activities. And in connection with our lesson today, watch and study in advance the video about personal computer assembly and disassembly. Provided here is the link of the video. So take note of this link and watch the video. So with that, we will conclude our discussion today. I hope that you have learned something new from me. See you in our next topic.